I need to finish the 5. I need to send 2 emails. Way too into this, no?
Fortnite. Are we ready? J Balvin. Latino Gang Gang. Let go. Let go. Y si el pueblo pide, y si el pueblo pide, y si el pueblo pide, no se lo voy a negar. Y si las mujeres piden, pues yo le voy a dar. Y si el pueblo pide, no se lo voy a negar. Si las mujeres piden, pues yo le voy a dar. DJ suénalo, pa' acá y aceléralo. Todo el mundo está abajo y se mide ese booty, pégalo. No me mate la vibra hasta ahora y gózatelo. Métele sazón, mami, como dice Tego. Ya tú sabes quiénes son, me resalto del montón. Dios bendiga el reggaetón, amén. Hasta abajo así soy yo, Yankee Pasta me inspiró. Bajo fuerte como falta con mi pantalón bailando reggaetón. No se lo voy a negar, si la mujer pide, pues yo le voy a dar. Y si el pueblo pide, no se lo voy a negar. Si la mujer pide, pues yo le voy a dar. El reggaetón la pone friki, se pega como Kiki, como Yavia con el wiki wiki. La vida loca como Ricky, no te la des de piqui, que yo te evito. Tú sabes quiénes son, me resalto del montón. Dios bendiga el reggaetón, amén. Hasta abajo así soy yo, Yankee Pasta me inspiró. Bajo fuerte como, y si el pueblo pide, no se lo voy a negar. ¡Let's go! Si la mujer pide, pues yo le voy a dar. Y si el pueblo pide, no se lo voy a negar. Si la mujer pide, pues yo le voy a dar. Shit, Bobby, man. So grateful for night. Thank you for having me here. Afterlife party, we ready. I want to see everybody put your hands up in the air. Mano arriba, come on. Put your hands up in the air. Mano arriba, come on. Afterlife, mano arriba, come on. Yeah, yeah. Afterlife, put your hands up, come on. Yeah. I want to see all my gamers right here, all la familia. Are we ready to jump? Estamos listos para brincar. 3, 2, 1, let's go, jump. Come on. Afterlife, come on. Let's go.
And I just started jumping for no reason. It wasn't me, Brad. He just jumped by himself.
Okay. It wasn't easy to take your mask off, pero ya estamos la máscara afuera. Estamos todo el mundo ready for night. Let's go, Shumpo.
Well, in come the thing them called chicks is for kids and we don't play games. Straight business, baby girl, tiny on the track.
Maybe don't say we don't play games because it's kind of
Tu
what
cara
we do.
más cara di que fue. Ya me tienes contra la pared. Pide una vez, pide dos, pide tres. Otra vez llegamos hasta 10. Tu cara más cara di que fue. Ya me tienes contra la pared. Pide una vez, pide dos, pide tres. Otra vez llegamos hasta. Se nota, ya sé. Sola. Me pide fruta. Yo sé cómo es que disfruta y cómo le gusta. Se nota ya, se quita sola la. Si hay otro, sé que todo le provoca cuando se aloca. Tu cara más cara di que fue. Ya me tienes contra la pared. Pide una vez, pide dos, pide tres. Otra vez llegamos hasta 10. Tu cara más cara di que fue. Ya me tienes contra la pared. Pide una vez, pide dos, pide tres. Otra vez llegamos hasta 10. Tu cara más cara di que fue. Ya me tienes contra la pared. Pide una vez, pide dos, pide tres. Otra vez llegamos hasta 10. Tu cara más cara di que fue. Ya me tienes contra la pared. Pide una vez, pide dos, pide tres. Otra vez llegamos hasta 10. Thank you. Usamos gracias, Latino Gang, J Bobby Man, Medellín, Colombia. Proud to be Latino. Yeah. Te reto que apague la luz y te quite lo que Dios te puso. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Te reto que apagues la luz y te quite lo que yo te puse. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. J Balvin, la disco está encendida. Tremenda nota. Ella ya no se me cae la roca. La chica súper poderosa, te está bellota. Y por mi madre, que se te nota, mami, tú estás.
30.000 pistas los Lil Tucci. Tu novio no vale ni la Gucci. Se aparece, le presenta mami Doña Uzi. Pa' que se relaje flow jacuzzi. Tú dale,
tú dale, tú dale, tú dale, tú dale lento, tú dale lento. Como me voy después, tú vive el momento. Ey, vamos pa' mi apartamento. Te juro no me quedo adentro.
Te reto que apague la luz y te quite lo que yo te puse. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú.
Te reto que apague la luz y te quite lo que yo te puse. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú.
Yo quiero un perreo sin luz.
Panamá.
Aquí se guaya sin luz.
Hey.
Con el mahón apretado me seduce luz. Aquí se guaya sin luz. Vaya, por eso perreo te puse.
What?
Un shot, 2 shots, ya no vamos baby.
Hey.
3 shots, 4 shots. Rompe, la disco rompe. A ella le gusta porque eres under.
Come on. Un shot, 2 shots, hasta abajo, baby. 3 shots, 4 shots, ya nos vamos a ver. Rompe, la disco rompe. Así me gusta, porque eres hombre.
Tú dale lento. Como me voy después, tú vive el momento. Yeah, vamos por mi apartamento. Sí, te juro no me quedo adentro. Te reto que apagues la luz y te quites lo que yo te puse. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú.
Te reto que apague la luz y te quite lo que yo te puse. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú.
Y yo tengo una amiga que le gusta.
Ajá.
Lo mismo que a mí me gusta. Nunca pone signo de pregunta.
Nunca.
Nada le asusta. A ella le gusta.
Y yo tengo una amiga que le gusta lo mismo que a mí me gusta. Nunca pone signo de pregunta. Nada le asusta. Solo le gusta. Low.
Te reto que apague la luz y te quite lo que yo te puse. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú.
Te reto que apague la luz y te quite lo que yo te puse. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú. Yo quiero lo mismo que tú.
Con ustedes, Sech. Y yo, mi gente, estamos súper activos aquí en Fortnite. Junto a J Balvin, Panamá en la casa, estamos súper activos.
Nuestra nueva canción, La Luz, is out now. This is our new song. Just came out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fortnite. The Snake. Tú me tienes loco.
You know who did that?
Contigo. Yo trato
I did that.
pero baby no te olvido. Tú me tienes loco, loco contigo. Yo trato y trato, pero baby aquí yo sigo. Mami, tú eres una champion, rampa, pa, pam, pam, pon un booty fuera de lugar. Una cintura chiquita, mata la cancha, tú estás fuera lo normal. Tú lo bates como la vena de abuela. Hay muchas mujeres, pero tú ganas por pela. Ya. ¿Qué? Tu diseñador no quiso gastar en la tela. Oh, mama, tú eres la fama. Estás conmigo y te va mañana. Cuando lo mueves, todo me sana. Eres mi antídoto cuando tengo ganas. Oh, mama, tú eres la fama. Estás conmigo y te va mañana. Cuando lo mueves, todo me sana. Eres mi antídoto cuando tengo. Tú me tienes loco, loco contigo. Yo trato y trato, pero baby no te olvido. Tú me tienes loco, loco contigo. Yo trato y trato, pero baby aquí yo sigo. Tú pides lo que quieras, lo que quieras, lo que quieras. Que yo la hago a tu manera, tu manera, tu manera. Dale, mueve la cadera como lo hacía Selena. Tú no tienes atadura, vamos a romper la cadera. Dios Ney, Chibab Balvin, man. Fortnite. Colombia, la China, ¿qué? Ya. Amarillo. Colores. J Balvin, man. Fortnite. Let's go. Somos de las 12, nos fuimos de roce. Voy a lo loco, ustedes me conocen. Reggaetón de Tego, pa' que se lo gocen. Saben quién es Balvin, les presenta José. Y yo no me complico, ¿cómo te explico? Que a mí me gusta pasarla rico. ¿Cómo te explico? No me complico. A mí me gusta pasarla rico. Después de las 12 salimos a buscar el party. Ando con los tigres, estamos modo safari. Con un flow violento que parece musical. Y yo tomando alguno. La policía está molesta porque ya se puso buena la fiesta. Pero estamos legal, no me pueden arrestar. Por eso yo sigo hasta que amanezcan. No me complico, ¿cómo te explico? Que a mí me gusta pasarla rico. ¿Cómo te explico? No me complico, a mí me gusta pasarla rico. No me complico, ¿cómo te explico? Que a mí me gusta pasarla rico. ¿Cómo te explico? No me complico, que a mí me gusta pasarla rico.
Hey, 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 hey,
Que siga la fiesta, no vamos a parar. Aquí solo se para si llama mi mamá. Hoy me toca seguir, la gente pide más. Me invitan por aquí, me invitan por allá. Y vamos a seguir. Las botellas llegan y no las pedí. Sola en la casa y están todas solitas. Si saben cómo se para que me invitan, pa' que me inviten. Vamos a seguir. Las botellas llegan y no las pedí. Sola en la casa y están todas solitas. Si saben cómo se para que me invitan, pa' que me inviten. Yo no me complico, ¿cómo te explico? Que a mí me gusta pasarla rico. ¿Cómo te explico? No me complico. A mí me gusta pasarla y yo no me complico. ¿Cómo te explico? Que a mí me gusta pasarla rico. ¿Cómo te explico? No me complico. A mí me gusta pasarla rico.
No me complico, nah, yo no me complico, nah, yo no me complico.
Ya, seguimos. Latino Gang, J Balvin, man. Ok. Agua. Let's go. Esto es un party por debajo del agua. Baby, busca tu paraguas. Estamos bailando como peces en el agua. Como peces en el agua. No existe la noche ni el día. Aquí la fiesta mantiene encendida. Siempre que pasa me guiña. Ey, dulce como piña. Esto es un party por debajo del agua. Baby, busca tu paraguas. Estamos bailando como peces en el agua. Hey, como peces en el agua. Eso es así, debajo del sol. Vamos para el agua, que hace calor. Dice que me vio en el televisor y que me reconoció. No fue un error. Y te conozco, Calamardo. Dale, sonríe que bien la estamos pasando. Ya estamos al gari, montamos el party. Estamos en bikini con toda la mami. Pues debajo del mar y debajo del mar tú me vas a encontrar. Desde hace rato veo que quieres bailar y no cambies. Esto es un party por debajo del agua. Baby, busca tu paraguas. Estamos bailando como peces en el agua. Como peces en el agua. No existe la noche ni el día. Aquí la fiesta mantiene encendida. Siempre que pasa me guiña. Ey, dulce como piña. Muy fuerte sin ejercicio, pero bailando se me nota el juicio. Ey, tanto calor que me asfixio. Soy una estrella, pero no soy patricio, no. Sacúdete la arena, arenita, y sonríe que así te ve bonita. Wow, de revista. Baila feliz en la pista. Bajo el sol pa' que quede morenita y París. Puedo estar debajo del mar y debajo del mar tú me vas a encontrar. Desde hace rato veo que quieres bailar y no cambies de tema. Who lives in a pineapple under the trees? SpongeBob SquarePants, you know what what I mean. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Bob Esponja, you know what I mean. Yeah. Let's go.
Look, I think you're gonna get these emotes. You know that? Yes, because my manager is just doing an emote randomly by himself. But everybody else is doing the same dance as him.
Are you ready for night? Todo el mundo estamos listos. I want to see everybody jumping, come on.
See, they dance, they're jumping again by themselves. Are you also jumping?
Se la que tengo el azúcar. Tu jeva me dio y se fue de pecho como Jimmy Luca. Te vamos a tumbar la peluca y arranca pa'l que a ti no te va a pasar. Mi tenis Valenciaga me reciben en la entrada. Paparazzi, like I'm Lady Gaga. Y no te me hagas que cover de vivo, tú has visto mi cara. No salgo de tu mente, donde quiera que haya escuchado mi gente. Ya no soy hype, soy como el testa rosa. Soy el que se la vive y también el que la goza. Es la cosa, mami, es la cosa. El que mira sufre y el que toca goza. I said I like it like that. I said I like it like that. I said I like it like that. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. Shout out Cardi B, Good Morning, Chip Balvin, Fortnite, Afterlife Party. Ya estamos, Kino Game. Gracias. Chip Balvin, man. Yes, sir. Fortnite, let's go. Yo te como sin vida, capela. Suave que la noche espera. Ya te encendí como vela y te apago cuando quiera. Negra hasta la noche como pantera. Ella coge el plan y lo desmantela. No es de Puerto Rico y me dice mera. Tranquila, yo pago, guarda tu cartera. For real, vale, Medellín, te lo dice que tengas que pedir, te seguí, me cambio de carril, mareado no sé si lo venio. For real, vale, Medellín, te lo dice que tengas que pedir, te seguí, me cambio de carril, mareado no sé si lo venimos sin vida, capela. Suave que la noche espera. Ya te encendí como vela y te apago cuando quiera. Negra hasta la noche como pantera. Ella coge el plan y lo desmantela. No es de Puerto Rico y me dice mera. Tranquila, yo pago, guarda tu cartera. For real, Medellín, te lo doy que tengas que pedir, te seguí, me cambio de carril, mareado no sé si lo ven. For real, Medellín, te lo doy que tengas que pedir, te seguí, me cambio de carril, mareado no sé si lo ven. A cualquier manga le marco, a los Cristiano Ronaldo, tírame el pique, lo parto. Manos en alto, que esto es un asalto. Esto no es misa, pero vine de blanco. Hago solo éxitos a lo Benny Blanco. No puedo parar, si paro me estanco. Sobra prosperidad, eso lo sabe el banco. For real, Medellín, te lo decir que tengas que pedir, te seguí, me cambio de carril, mareado no sé si lo venio. For real, Medellín, te lo decir que tengas que pedir, te seguí, me cambio de carril, mareado no sé si lo ven.
You see, This means it's just doing the emote by themselves, bro. But I think when you're done with this whole event, then they're probably gonna give you the emotes.
Vicky, we're ready.
Sé que no sabes de mí y no te puedo mentir. Lo que dicen en la calle sobre mí
Y no te voy a negar.
estamos claros y ya.
Nicky Jam, yo.
This is a lit song, bro.
Y no te voy a negar.
This is a lit song.
Estamos claros y ya. Solo deja que yo te agarre, baby.
This song used to
Besos
mood
en
in my
el
polo,
cuello
bro.
pa' calmar la sed. Mi mano en tu cadera pa' empezar, como ves. No le vamos a bajar más nunca, mamá. Baila, la cata, como ella lo mueve. Sin parar, las ganas de. Ahora son más fuertes.
Did you drive my polo with the sound
Y no te
system?
voy a negar. Estamos claros y ya. No te lo voy a negar. Estamos claros y ya.
Lo que he visto de ti, mami, no es normal. Pero no te preocupes que soy anormal. Sé que tus amigas no les demos gustar.
Pero que Nicky, díselo.
Pero ven, cuéntale, parte por parte. Como tenemos, te quito el estrés, dale otra vez.
Nicky,
Y no te voy a
Jam, yo.
negar. Estamos claros y ya. No te lo voy a negar. Estamos claros y ya.
Baila, la cata,
Yes.
como ella lo mueve, sin parar. Las ganas de ahora son más fuertes. Y no te voy a negar. Nicky Jam, miss you, bro. Whoa. Hey, let's go. Woo. Yeah. Come on. Put your hands up in the air, mano arriba, todo el mundo. Yeah. Let's go. Hey. Ahora quieres volver. ¿Por qué razón? Dime para qué. Ya no te presto atención. Desde hace tiempo le puse punto final. ¿Qué pretendes tú llamándome hasta ahora? Esa actitud la conozco ya. Sabes qué hacer muy bien para envolverme, pero esta vez es muy tarde ya. Bad Bunny, ¿cómo?
Estas no son horas de llamar. A menos que me lo quieran, que quiera aprender, que quiera. Hablando claro, ya tu mente ya está mal. Porque me metí, me pido ver. Pero tú no eres una Kardashian, contigo no me tiro, porque si no la retro se me embachan. De Snapchat te borré, de Facebook te borré, de Instagram te borré, de mi vida te borré. Y ahora quieres volver, nada con lo que quieres. Pero no se va a poder, me vas a ver con otra y te vas a morder. Y ahora quieres volver, nada con lo que quieres. Pero no se va a poder, me vas a ver con otra y te vas a morder. ¿Qué pretendes tú llamándome a esta hora? Esa actitud, la conozco ya. Sabes qué hacer muy bien para envolverme, pero esta vez es muy tarde ya.
Intentas hacerlo todo para que yo vuelva. Las cosas no son iguales, ¿para qué insistir? Evita molestas y tu tiempo no pierdas. Conmigo no encuentras nada a escondidas. Vive chequeando las fotos, investigando mi perfil. No lo niegues, bien te conozco. Todo lo que tú hiciste conmigo, quieres repetirlo. Andas buscando más. Y a mí eso me da igual. Todo lo que tú hiciste conmigo, quieres repetirlo. Andas buscando más. Y a mí eso me da igual. ¿Qué pretendes tú llamándome hasta ahora? Esa actitud la conozco ya. Sabes qué hacer muy bien para envolverme, pero esta vez es muy tarde ya.
Díselo, va.
¿Qué pretendes tú llamándome hasta ahora? Esa actitud que la conozco ya. Sabes qué hacer muy bien para envolverme, pero esta vez es muy tarde ya. Gracias, Bad Bunny. Fortnite. Bad Bunny, let go. J Balvin. J Balvin, man. Check. Oasis, baby. Let go. Okay. Like I peace. Balvin, man. Whoa. Let go. Toda la noche rompemos, al otro día volvemos. Tú sabes cómo lo hacemos, baby.
Baby, tonight's like fuego. We bout to spend a dinero. We party to the extremo, baby.
Toda la noche rompemos, al otro día volvemos.
Dobrá, tipo pusire
Tú
tady.
sabes cómo lo hacemos, baby.
Ty budeš čampec a pusire tady.
We bout to spend a dinero. We party to the extremo, extremo.
Ritmo.
No soy ni Ribu ni Sonai. Sin estilista luzco fly. La Rosalía me dice que luzco guay. No te lo niego porque yo sé lo que hay. Lo que se ve no se pregunta. Solo espero y tengo claro que es mi culpa. Como Canelo en el ring nada me asusta. Vivo mío así y la paz no me la tumba. Hakuna Matata como Timon y Pumba. Voy pa' leyenda así que dale zumba. Los dejo ciegos con la vibra que me alumbra. Eres pa' la tumba, nosotros pa' la rumba. Ya. Toda la noche rompemos, el otro día volvemos. Tú sabes cómo lo hacemos, baby.
Baby, tonight's like fuego. We bout to spend a
Okay,
dinero.
I see you.
We party to the extremo,
Let go.
baby.
Toda la noche rompemos, el otro día volvemos. Tú sabes cómo lo hacemos, baby. Black Eyed Peas, come on.
Baby, tonight's like fuego.
Will I am.
We bout to spend a dinero. We party to the extremo.
Ritmo.
Hey.
The rhythm, the rebel, styles upon styles, I got several. Born to be wild cause I live like a dead devil. Live it up, hit 'em up, that's a
Let
scenario.
go.
Tupac, I get around like a
I see.
merry-go rooftop. I am on top of the pedestal, flu shot. I am so sick, I need medical. I learned that shit down in Mexico.
Hey.
The rhythm, the rebel, new and improve, I be on a new level. That's how we do it, we building like Lego. Feel on a fire, you're dealing with fuego. Can't stop, I am addicted, I never quit.
Won't stop.
Don't need this picture, no therapist. Don't stop, keeping it moving's the narrative. Non stop, do it like whoop, there it is.
Toda la noche rompemos, al otro día volvemos. Tú sabes cómo lo hacemos, baby.
Baby, tonight's like fuego. We bout to spend a dinero.
Dinero, huh?
We party to the extremo, baby.
Toda la noche rompemos, al otro día volvemos. Tú sabes cómo lo hacemos, baby. Baby, tú eres like fuego. Baby, vale pena dinero. We party to the extremo, 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 extremo.
Ritmo.
Okay. Está grande el hombre.
This is why they need to give us our guns.
El demonio canto con Honduras.
Rosalía.
Y solo una estrella, una figura.
Let's go.
Héctor aprendí la sabrosura.
Fortnite.
Nunca he visto una joya tan pura.
Esto pa' que quede lo que yo hago dura.
Con altura.
Demasiadas noches de travesura.
Con altura.
Vivo rápido y no tengo cura.
Con altura.
Y de joven para la sepultura.
Con
Is
altura.
man's leg shaking?
Lo que yo hago dura.
Con altura.
Demasiadas noches de travesura.
Con altura.
Vivo rápido y no tengo cura.
Con altura.
Y de joven para la sepultura.
Con altura.
Pongo rosas sobre el Panamera.
Ya.
Pongo palmas sobre la Guantanamera.
Let's go.
I think it was my controller.
Hago pa' mi gente y lo hago a mi manera. Flores
Pero-
azules y quilates. Y si es mentira que me mate. Flores azules y quilates. Y si es mentira que me mate.
Con altura. Con altura.
Esto pa' que quede lo que yo hago dura.
Con altura.
Demasiadas noches de travesura.
Con altura.
Vivo rápido y no tengo cura.
Con altura.
Y de joven para la sepultura.
Con altura.
Esto pa' que quede lo que yo hago dura.
Siempre dura, dura.
Demasiadas noches de
Yes, bro.
travesura.
Con altura.
Vivo rápido y no tengo cura.
Con altura.
Y de joven para la sepultura.
Con altura. Aquí en la altura están fuertes los vientos. Ponte el cinturón y coge asiento. A tu jeva ya la vi por dentro.
But now you see the people with the jump pad just fucking up the whole thing.
Ponte a la pared.
The people with the jump pad just fuck up the whole thing.
Porque la tenía con C. No soy Sky, pero rompe el bajo otra vez.
Flores azules y quilates. Y si es mentira que me mate.
Flores azules y quilates. Y si es mentira que me mate. Con altura. Con altura.
Esto pa' que quede lo que yo hago dura.
Con altura.
Demasiadas noches de travesura.
Con altura.
Vivo rápido y no tengo cura.
Con altura.
Y de joven para la sepultura.
Con altura. No pa' que quede lo que yo hago dura. Con altura. Demasiadas noches de travesura. Con altura. Vivo rápido y no tengo cura. Con altura. Y de joven para la sepultura. Con altura. La Rosalía.
La Rosalía.
Come on.
Vamos, vamos.
Yeah. Fortnite. J Balvin, man. La Rosalía.
Que yo hago dura.
Mi gente, gracias, los amo. Buena vibra siempre. J Balvin, man. Let's go. Si el ritmo te lleva a mover la cabeza y empezamos como es. Mi música no discrimina a nadie, así que vamos a romper. Toda mi gente se mueve. Mira el ritmo como lo tiene. Hago música que entretiene. El mundo nos quiere, me quiere a mí. Toda mi gente se mueve. Mira el ritmo como lo tiene. Hago música que entretiene. Mi música los tiene fuerte bailando y se baila así. Esquina, de ahí nos vamos. El mundo es grande, pero lo tengo en mis manos. Estoy muy duro, sí, ok, vamos. Y con el tiempo nos seguimos elevando y que seguimos rompiendo aquí. Que esta fiesta no tiene fin. Botellas para arriba, sí. Los tengo bailando, rompiendo y yo sí. Que seguimos rompiendo aquí. Que esta fiesta no tiene fin. Botellas para arriba, sí. Los tengo bailando, rompiendo. ¿Y dónde está mi gente? Me fue a bouger la tête. ¿Y dónde está mi gente? Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Dos, tres, come on. Come on. Yeah. Everybody jump. Todo el mundo conmigo. Yeah. Okay. Tonight. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
saat में stick terus auto jump sekarang.
La fiesta no para apenas comienza. C'est comme ça, ma chérie. La 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 la. Francia, Colombia, me gusta. Freeze. Y Balvin, Willy William, me gusta. Freeze. Los DJ no mienten, le gusta a mi gente y eso se fue muy. Freeze. No le bajamos, mas nunca bajamos, es otro palo y blanco.
¿Y dónde está mi gente? ¿Y dónde está mi gente? Let's go. Esquina, de ahí nos vamos. El mundo es grande, pero lo tengo en mis manos. Estoy muy duro, sí, ok, vamos. Y con el tiempo nos seguimos elevando y que seguimos rompiendo aquí. Esta fiesta no tiene fin. Botellas para arriba, sí. Los tengo bailando, rompiendo y yo sigo. Que seguimos rompiendo aquí. Esta fiesta no tiene fin. Botellas para arriba, sí. Los tengo bailando, rompiendo. ¿Y dónde está mi gente? ¿Y dónde está mi gente? ¿Y dónde está mi gente? Thank you, gracias a todo el mundo. Gracias de corazón de poder estar aquí cantando en español para todo el mundo. J Balvin, Latino Game, orgulloso desde Medellín, Colombia. Fortnite. J Balvin, man.
I have that loading screen. The difference is I don't want it. Ja, het is klaar, ja, no? I'm just making kharak now. Yeah, it looks like my whole party quit also. Everybody lying. They leave their brooms and shit. Look there. Look like a real concert. Look like a real concert. People just gooi all the kak everywhere and just line. My broom is busy. Reloading. Where are you?
They get the victory royale. The Godfathers of Fortnite. They pull off what they needed to jumpstart their game. Probably, I don't want to say a little too late because they still have 3 games. They can still get the back-to-backs, you know, when you have a 50% win rate. I believe anything can happen. I believe it all. But we got to take a look at the standings and see how things are going. Which team is currently holding down that #1 spot? Shy, it is Day, Miro, and Reverse 2K. And look at the lead. They're continuing to widen the gap.
It's like deja vu all the way from the qualifiers, honestly, all the way from the heats as well. These guys just know how to play every game, no matter the zone, no matter who's on height.
Yeah.
No victory royales, but they're just so consistent, Reese.
It's crazy. They just had their worst game and they placed 8th with 6 eliminations. Like, that is incredible that they're so consistent that that is classified as their worst game. I can't believe that. But into the next second, all the way down to 5th, we can see that there's only a few points between 2nd and 5th right now, which shows that coming into these next 3 games, anyone can shake up the leaderboards. Quite literally anyone, even here from 6th down to 10th, anyone who is listed here can take that 2nd place slot. Now, can I take the first from DNA?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to say? I'm taking it before you.
We're on the same wave now. Like, taking it from first from TNA, once again, you can't really do it at their drop. Their drop is so, like, individually conditioned the way they play the game. If you're Bucky, Creo, Kanata, you're landing at Slurpee, you're not going to switch over to, you know, that special house that has that big vantage point and that side kind of mansion that's overlooking the ocean. There's no chance. Past that, from 11th all the way to 15th place, all of these guys are kind of finding one-off games like Clicks, Illis, and Bizzle. My goodness. All the way over on height on a different game, getting 2nd overall. Mega, Riverson, and Dubs. These guys, too, are finding one-off good games, but you have to be able to have, you know, these 8th place, 6th Elam performances back to back to back to back, or you're not going to be able to break that top 5.
What do you mean?
Yeah, just to kind of give a bit of an example, Clicks, Bizzle, and Illist, I can say it, came second with 7 eliminations in the first game of today.
You mean like,
and then, you know, 15
watching
for 4,
CDL
12
like
for
this?
1. So, you know, a little bit less eliminations were going. I was kind of getting off to the impression that these guys were going to be off to a really good start and that they'd start climbing the leaderboards, but that seems to kind of slowed down a little bit since then.
Yeah, the story of NA East so far of the day are these top 5 trios really taking away a lot of points and placement every game, and then maybe one team, right? Maybe it's Zate's trio that ends up winning the game. Maybe it's Bucky, Creo, Kanata. One of these 5th to 15th place teams end up popping off. It's just no one can really stop the momentum of this top 5.
Guys, walk me through this last game. We were kind of talking about this right before it ended, and we set up some of the replays to kind of understand the complexity that is these NA East end games here in the finals. So let's break it down for our viewers.
Nice, we should. That last game was Weeping Woods, so there were kind of 2 different games going on, but don't get it confused, there were no tears in Weeping Woods. It was all smiles for both sides of the game. Zate, Stretch, and Saf got to play height. Everyone else got to stay in low ground until they met again in the 9th zone.
Yeah, and one of the things, you know, we're mentioning a Weeping Wood zone. This makes high ground so much better because you can just build over these trees. Obviously, you can see that TSM, Sappy, Stretch, and then Zay as well are obviously staying way higher than the trees now, but if they were closer to that, they could even harvest the materials as they go. And this also makes low ground a lot more shambles as well. A lot of the teams are fighting a lot closer. They're getting pushed together with all this foliage in their way.
But how did the #1 trio actually end up doing what they do? Why are they so good at height? This is it right here. It's large splits all the way on height. Check this out in just a moment. We have Stretch all the way at the back near zone, Saf making a new target entirely, and Zate going for action shots down below, using shockwaves to meet back with the trio. Every time a new zone actually starts, they end up splitting. When that zone's about to close, they make sure they're together to stop any other shockwaves and make sure they can get together and form a game plan to go split again. Because of this, combined with the Weeping Woods trees, they got to stay alive and healthy at a cost though, Reese, as they only had 3 eliminations.
Yeah, only 3 eliminations is difficult because, like we said earlier, the Weeping Wood zone means that there's not as many opportunities to get eliminations on players down below. Now, these guys aren't teams who are typically popping off with 19 elims on height anyway, but Stretch still managed to pick up this fantastic one to finish it off there.
Yeah, look at how Stretch massacred my boy, except on the low ground with the big bouncer play. The Godfathers of NA East, showing us how it's done in one of the hardest zones to navigate in the game from high ground.
No, I didn't.
That action
I
shot
don't
made
know,
me just
stick
believe
drift
that
is
it was
fucking
like another
taking
Reese
me away.
video, and I was super, like, for a moment I was actually lost in the sauce. I was like, wait, are we supposed to be talking? We're talking. That's what. But you know, hey guys, guess what else we have for you? That is Brazil. They are done. We have FNCS champions over there. Axes to give out. So let's crown new champions. Congratulations, Z-Truck, Frosty, and Ridley? Should I help?
Ridley, the beast is actually the operating word in that entire gamer tag, because 3 victory royales, 251 points, and 84 elims. These guys put on a show and won Brazil.
You know, and we have seen many of these names before, but the one that's kind of sticking out to me on top of this trio is Frosty. First in the FNCS Invitational. This guy is absolutely predominant during the FNCS Invitational, and he's come back around for a second time. Obviously not picking up the 2 in a row in the solo FNCS, but again, picking up the Axe of Champions one more time for the FNCS trios.
Yep, and they have a lot of earnings to go with them to be able to take home after a grueling entire process of, you know, rounds to heats to qualifiers to grands. We have Rusty, King, and their trio also there in second. We saw how good they were overall in the quals. They'll be able to get there after a somewhat rough day #1. Past this, though, on the second page, Patty, and then we have Bagu and JPS. We were watching them during the quals as well. They were kind of in that 8th to 9th slot overall over and over again. They'll be similar also in the grand, so we're seeing some nice consistent gameplay. Brazil, though, a fun region to watch.
Very fun, very fun. Very good performances coming out of them. The qualifiers were great from King's trio, obviously dominant qualifiers, but that's not who picked up the first in the grand finals. Frosty's trio performing very, very well in these last 2 days.
And for their achievement, they will be crowned FNCS champions, being given the Axe of Champions, and be able to hold on to it till the next FNCS comes around. Fortnite fam, we're 3 games down here in NA East, but 3 left. Who will be crowned here in NA East? Well, stick around. You won't want to miss it. We're going to a break. When we come back, the conclusion here from the FNCS.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Reset back with another video, and in today's video I want to cover height. We're going to be using Zayt, Saf and Stretch as an example, and one of their games where they picked up a victory royale from Qualifier 3 Round 3 of the FNCS. Across the 12 games, these guys picked up 4 victory royales, and they hold height in an absolutely textbook way, so let's dive into that. Firstly, just for super basic, height is when you're on the very highest layer of the moving zones in endgame, and this is powerful for many reasons. Firstly, because you use the least amount of materials to traverse the moving zones, you have a ton of angles on players to shoot down on, you have the best opportunities for healing, and you only need to worry about players below you, so you don't have to cover your left, right, and above, which you'll have to on low and mid ground layers. I like to categorize the art of playing high ground into 2 separate categories: claiming and maintaining. Claiming high ground does not start in the end game, it starts much earlier in the mid game, and in this game in particular, Zayt, Saf and Stretch try to claim the high ground as early as the 3rd zone. You can see them take up a large amount of space horizontally here, with Zayt and Saf building over onto another area, so they have 2 separate points of high ground. Later on in the game, when the 4th zone appears, they're not actually inside of this zone, so they wait late until other players have already built up there, and then they all shockwave over and claim the high ground there. The only reason that these guys get to the highest layer in 4th is because they'd already set themselves up on a higher layer in the 3rd zone. This allows them simply to just shockwave over and claim it. From here on out, our team's goals switch up from claiming high ground to maintaining it. Really, they're not looking for a huge amount of eliminations here. Their main goal is just to ensure they are the only ones on height. They do this by shooting at other players who have built up in other areas of the zone to around equal levels of them, and also by looking down, looking at players who are 1 or 2 layers below them, and pressuring these guys to make it seem like there's no chance that they're going to claim height over Zayt, Saf and Stretch. You can see that the 5th zone is almost max distance from where they are now, so this is where Zayt, Saf and Stretch are going to need to start claiming the high ground again. Zayt hits a beautiful snipe on one of the opposing players at the opposite height, so this is an immediate flag that our team should now just go and grab that height, because these guys are going to be on the defensive, trying to pick up the res on this teammate, and aren't going to be focusing on maintaining that high ground. What Zayt does is he actually shockwaves over to another layer of builds and then builds out into the zone to create a different area of high ground. Then, once this is solidified, Saf and Stretch both then come over onto this high ground, and then Zayt actually goes over to the other layer of high ground where he sniped the player and builds up here. This is exactly the same thing we saw in the 3rd zone, where they've claimed 2 separate layers of high ground. They do this because they give absolutely no opportunities for any other team to take high ground at this point. So in the 5th zone, these guys have this completely locked down. At this point, because these guys have claimed 2 separate layers of high ground, it doesn't matter which way the zone pulls, as these guys already have claimed all of the high ground layers. In all honesty, this is the hardest part done. These guys have good materials still left, and now they just need to ensure that they maintain height all the way through the moving zones. The main threat that they have is players using their shockwave grenades to fly up and take height from them. So the way that they defend against this is by having one player on what we call ultimate high ground. In this game, in the first few moving zones, this is Zayt. He stays up 3 or 4 layers above to ensure if anyone shockwaves up, he doesn't get knocked out. This allows him to spray any players that are contesting and really take control of that high ground. And at the same time, you can see Saf move further ahead of the zone and spray backwards at players down below, while Stretch stays on the same layer as Saf and just consistently applies pressure to all the players below.
Shot like 3
You
people
continue
in
to
the
spawn up
sky.
until the 9th zone, the final moving, because this is when the heal off is going to need to happen. And you can see that Saf throws his white heals, which is medkits, up towards Stretch so that Stretch can stay on the ultimate high ground where Zayt was instead. And then if this game goes down to a heal off, he can stay on the ultimate high ground, heal with the medkits, while Zayt and Saf are on the low ground, completely trying to frag out and distract the other players who are alive. Zayt ends up completely popping off on low ground and picking up the victory royale, meaning they didn't end up needing to use those medkits for the heal off. However, if Zayt didn't manage to pop off here and the 9th zone ended up closing, they would have won this either way. Hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot. I've been Resub. See you in the battle boss. Beep beep.
But I don't know, to build like that is a different story, bro.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to continued coverage from us here in the Fortnite Champion Series Grand Finals. 3 games left to go. And we're not going to stay here too long because it's time to jump back into all the action. We've got our casters standing by to be our eyes in the sky. Take it away.
Here we have it. It's your boys, Monster D-Face and Aussie Antics, bringing the action. The drop spot of choice is Bugha, Avery, and Jamper to kick off this game number 4. It's the FNCS. It's the back half. It's time to bring this thing home.
Let's bring it home, and how exciting today has
But
been.
look at his draw
Already been
distance,
shaping
bro.
up very differently just from last game to this game.
His
The first
FOV,
game of
draw
the day,
distance,
this team
everything,
hasn't
bro. The
been
game
contested,
looks
right? Monster, they have the
completely
loot,
different,
they have
bro.
the positioning, and no eliminations. Cease's team must have backed out.
Yeah, someone had to figure it out. Someone decided it wasn't a great idea. Clearly something wasn't working. Maybe Zate, Saf, and Stretch have some competition over there. I mean, we do know there's 2 drop spots if you want to play for first. That's kind of how it all shapes out to be, but this is great. This is great for Bugha, Jamper, and Avery, who realistically, you have to give a lot of credit to. They held their 5th place spot. They held that top 5 somehow, some way, even though they were contested. I talked about this drop spot having some players here, and it seems like it does. Zate's got a whole lot of company.
Yeah, but over near Salty, all I'm seeing right now is TNA team getting beelined on by XSET team, and we've seen it. It's 2-0 at this point. TNA's team has run into XSET twice, and they have full wiped them both times. Once early in the mid game, and once very far into the end game. So if they go toe-to-toe again, that's your 4th place and 1st place team. Things could get exciting. We have 3 of our top 5 teams all on top of each other right now. And you just talked about the leaderboard then, Monster, right? They held on to their 5th place. They're tied for 4th and only 4 points behind 3rd. So this top 5, as much as TNA is honestly running away with it, the rest of the leaderboard is so close. It is anyone's game.
Yeah, and that's the matter of thousands, right? You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars on the line here. And just the prestige of saying you finished in the top 5, the top 3, the 2nd place, whatever it may be that you're trying to come home with. There is still a lot riding on the line here. And that's why teams are contesting those major drop spots. That's why you have Cease, Blake, and company landing there. Because at the end of the day, you need those shockwaves, right? You want to play for first. Even if you're in the back pages, you can propel your way on up. And that's what everyone's trying to do here.
Yeah, it's very, very tight when it gets lower right now. Saf Zate can still
That's
do that as
interesting,
well.
no?
And we talk
The way
about
their
like,
loadouts
you know,
are
the
set up.
prestige. There's also a lot of beef on the line. There has been a lot of teams talking smack. You have
Like they
Zate,
got
Saf,
an
and
ice-
Stretch calling out Bugha's team for not performing with uncontested Stark throughout the weeks. They now have uncontested Dooms, and they're doing the worst they've ever done. So they really need to come back in the tail half here and impress.
No, I
because
get
you
that.
don't wanna be made
But
to
what I
eat your
mean
own
is
words
like
if
the
Bugha's team beats out Zate's team.
like I like to
Now
have
we're gonna hop
a
on over to
SMG
Bugha
and a
Avery
shotgun.
Jamper. Gives you guys a little bit of an update what the loadout's looking like. Not a lot of medium
then
bullets,
that
but
kind of
everything
kills
else
me from
sort
having
of
an
coming
item.
together here. And this is why we, in that last big highlight clip that we saw Bugha hit the snipe shot, this is why they never have sniper shots. It's just the ammunition's a bit scarce here for the heavy, for the medium bullets, but they managed to make do with it, even against all odds here. Avery's the one really hoarding onto it. It looks like he's got to do some sharing.
Oh, it looks like Avery has to
Wait
do
a
some
second.
sharing with the vault, but
Whoa.
doesn't realize the team is in there. Legend Dian comes out. We're talking about Team New Age all day here, but it's the new signing of Legend Dian that's going to really affect this leaderboard. That's your 5th place
Yikes.
team. Only one of them's down. There is a reboot van here, but the zone is coming. I don't think they're going to be able to pull off a reboot here unless this team rotates quickly, and that's a big loot increase for them.
Such a huge come up. When we talked about Avery hoarding all the ammo, I mean, they just got away with 300 medium bullets. All the loot, of course, that they get to pick up on top of that, and then they skate away Storm, Surge, Freeze. So just like that, the ambush is going to pay off. Yes, Bugha will be able to get the card here, but I mean, the payment has already been due. It's already been dished out. They're gone with it. It's a free elim for them. Luckily for Avery and Bugha here, or Jamper and Bugha, they do not get held out, right? This could have been a lot worse than it already was.
Yeah, I was going to say, they do have one of these cars. They do have the med kits. They could go for the reboot, but maybe they're going to try and find it somewhere else.
Jamper's there. Jamper's there.
Oh, Jamper's gone for it. So Jamper's now gone for the reboot, but I'm surprised Bugha's leaving now as well. So yeah, maybe they have the clean rotate back in. Jamper has fallen back. He gets the reboot. There we go. So the only problem is they've lost the loadout. Avery's gone from having really good firepower to kind of just getting the scraps now. He's just got to get the backup weapons, the leftovers, but it could be a lot worse. They're still up. They're still in this with a chance, and this team could very easily jump up. And like you said, thousands, there's tens of thousands when you think about how much these teams get combined on the line. So they really need to perform now.
Did you see that?
I really do love how Jamper and Avery didn't even want to test the Volt. They were like, you know, just in case Booga didn't clear it, they didn't even bother going inside of it to pick up anything. Ooh. So that's how that's going to play out. Reverse 2K is going to find a massive knock here onto C9's Nosh. In the process, though, Macwood falls. Calculator falls there to Class 2. All of a sudden, some big knocks from notable trios left and rights. It seems like Reverse 2K and company trying to rotate up.
This is so important. This would have been by far this team's worst performance. Look at the loadout. We've never really seen them this shambles. They have a couple of minis, couple of bandages. They've got the crash pads, but no builds, no eliminations on the board. They're now only 123 above the Storm Surge. So this team is proving they can do it all. Now they can clutch up even when they're shambles. They can identify those fights, and let's see the confidence. Is a team finally going to stop this team? Is somebody finally going to be able to say, no, you aren't the best team in NA East? And no, never mind. Right now, they're proving why they're in the lead as Day just gets in on an entire team. When have you ever seen a team in a major region run through every other team with ease? We are now over 10 games in, and no one has been able to stop this team. No one has beaten them in a straight 3v3. This is insane.
Yeah, and it's not even close. It's not that they haven't been beaten. It hasn't even been close. I'm sure if we take the stats and we really crunch down to the length of time, how long these battles have lasted, they are not very long. And this is why Miro is leading with eliminations for the entire region. I think I'm not sure if it's internationally, but when we saw the stat flying, Miro has the most elims. That's all it said. So, like, he's the slayer of the squad. He's got 0 this time around. Day's right behind him, but you know he's going to be able to follow up without a single problem. And that's how they're dropping teams right now.
And look at that. They've now got their eliminations. They've got their surge. They've got more loot. And it's just crazy. They're in the lead, but they've been playing like this all weekend. And this is when usually teams are like, cool, we're coming into this. We've got an almost 50-point lead. We've done it. Let's just have our victory lap. Let's sit back and cruise through. No, they're still in top gear right now. They are pushing through everyone, trying to get these eliminations, and nothing's going to stop them right now. I need to see at least one team try to meet their match, or we have our 100% undisputed champions of NA East, because they've done it in such dominant fashion. But there are people still knocking on the door who can come back with these big performances. Like
why can't they never do this
they
at
set up to
CDL?
try and run through a team as well.
And just to jump on that, it's not just dominant fashion, it's also different drop spot. Like,
Why
they're
can't
doing
they give you
something
full
completely
POVs?
different, and they did it through the qualifying weeks. Dirty Docks first, taking up Fortilla, now a brand new drop spot by the castle. Just to give you an idea of how good Reverse 2K, Miro, and Day have been throughout this week, they have flex dropped consistently and successfully made it work every single week they played Fortnite. Here, though, another big team. Not necessarily as flex. They did have some opportunities to play Stark, but they're back at their home drop spot. They're doing very, very good. Still far off of first, but very consistent so far nonetheless.
This is a team that's dropped down a little bit here. Aspect, Zunis, and NPen came into today on 4th, really close to 3rd.
And then similarly, why did you design the game for
really
a platform
pick up the pace
that you know is not going to handle it?
Fortnite this whole weekend, and you don't want to let it slip now. Aspect has been in these situations before, an absolute veteran. So I don't think it's the pressure, just something isn't clicking. But I know they can make it work because they really want to jump up into that big prize money. And this loadout is the one to do it. They've got the good positioning, and this is probably one of the easiest zones we've seen today, right, Monster? It's pretty like we've been saying, vanilla. There's a bit of water, there's kind of some hills, there's no mountains, there's no like steamy stacks, no giant buildings. It's gonna play out, and anyone can win this one.
Yeah, these are the ones that get the most exciting. The slight elevation, nothing too crazy. It's all bronze, all guts. Let's see how it's going to play out, though. Remember, this last game just shows you what happens when you fall behind from one single round. Zuni's Aspect and NPen, the Booga opener, the quick drop on the squad here, really set them back.
Like,
they
if you drop the graphics a little bit,
place.
you know,
but
like make
the
game a little bit less
they're
taxing.
Just 5 placements off of top 4, right? So it's that neck and neck here. A few eliminations here make the difference for the squad. But nonetheless, you cannot fall. If you're in the top 10, you're in the top 5, and you fall, you're going to fall a massive amount of slots, and it's going to be that much harder to close the gap. That's how much, you know, that's how stiff the competition is from 2nd to 10th.
I'm coming
Look at
now.
that edge right now. Reverse 2K down there in a decent spot. But if you look at that mini map, it is congested beyond congested. There's a few teams out here in the open, and we always talk about being, you know, dead side versus congested side. In stack lobbies like this, though, I'm a little bit scared for teams like Dubs, Mega, and Riversun out here, because if they've got to make their rotate, or if they start getting lobby focused, they have nothing to hide behind. So they've got to be really, really careful of which edits they open up right now, because if any of them get knocked or if they get cracked, the lobby focus will just unleash on them. But teams like Reverse right now have so many teams on top of their head. If they don't navigate properly, they're in a very risky position.
Here it is, though, looking out to put some pressure down. Dubs is not going to connect anything. Mega looking out the other side. He's got to be careful. All these fresh builds do bring a lot of attention, especially considering they are inside the safe zone. A lot of lines of sights on them. Riversun is going to have a team land right in front of him. He looks to open up the edit right now. He's actually controlling all these pieces as well. It's looking pretty good for them. They might be able to take this box fight. This team landed so close. They're poising up for it. Do have to be careful. I wonder if they have some crash pads to go ahead and extend this one out. It might just work.
And it's crazy to talk about a team as if they're like a struggling team that can maybe win this box fight, because there's Mega, Dubs, and Riversun, such decorated players. Riversun was doing better than any other team coming into these tournaments as a trio, but he split last minute with Furious and Illest, picked up Mega and Dubs, and just hasn't found their success. So they really need to do something in this tail half. Otherwise, he's going to feel really, really bad about that decision right now.
Now you can see the other attention coming from the rest of the lobby now. The half in, half out's gonna pop. It's going all the way east here. It's looking like the perfect kind of flat zone some people could only dream for. And they have the opportunity. Cosmix is gonna fall here to Dubs. The quick follow-up, and that is also onto the next player too. All of a sudden now they have granted themselves 2 eliminations, and they are able to claim the loot. Dubs jumps in, Riverson jumps in. They are able to grab all of this. That is great for the rotate up ahead.
And I saw Scented, Edgy, and Commandment get 2 eliminations in the feed too, so they're pushing their second place a little bit further beyond right now as Jampa taking down Unknown here. So we got some big teams really shaping up here. I think we have every single team in the top 5 still up right now and looking pretty healthy as no Day falls. This is big. This is something we have not seen. Our first place team losing a member in the mid game. I know that sounds crazy, 9 games into a grand final, but this literally has not happened until now. We have to see whether they can bounce back from this.
Yeah, and if it did happen, they got the revive off. So that's the difference between then and now. Oh, it's a big knock's going to hop in here to Fop. Fop's down. That's the second time now we watch him eat a massive shot on broadcast, unfortunately. But Mega, with the beautiful follow, he's probably not going to get the conclusion, but still a very high-class shot here from the high ground spot. And now they are able to dominantly hold it. They do have to be careful, though. The more likely they are to hold this one passively like this with ramps, the more likely they are to get landed on and have height snatched up from them. So they do have to be careful. You saw right there, Zate poising up. Like, this is the guy to do it, too. Looking outwards. He doesn't have a cone over his head like everyone else would have in a situation. It's because they love to jump out. They love to surprise the high ground teams. As we hop over to the other side, 8 elims here for Kaz and Polarized. Not too bad as a 2-man squad.
And that was really just 2 sides of the battlefield, right? Both up on high ground, just looking at each other. Neither one of them building up, but I think at this point right now, it looks like Riversun, Dubs, and Mega actually got zone advantage. But like you said, Zate likes to jump. You know they're going to pounce on that if they can. If they have the mobility, they're going to go for that either way. As 8 eliminations for this team, they're going to try and make it 9, and that they do. They take out Suesuo, but getting eliminations now is a little bit sketchy because they've got to start working on their rotate. And there it is. The Peppermints come out, and Zate goes down to tabs. So Zate's firepower on the high ground is looking a lot worse for wear, which is even better for Riversun, Dubs, and Mega if they were able to do something with it up there.
100%. And guys, this is the halfway mark right here. Game number 4 of the day 2. After this, the qualifier run for grand finals is over. What can you do? As Polarized gets N-Pen here, that means Aspect and Zuni's have to clutch up. Can they get the save? Polarized looking to scramble right now. Shots coming from all over. And he does. He stays alive for a little longer. He gets the thirst. That's onto N-Pen. All that for a point. That makes it 10 elims for them in a massive, massive follow.